What's up, Rockstars? Today I'm talking about the top 10 worst companies to back for a crowdfunded board game. Thank you to my channel sponsor Into the AM. As a company that believes hard work and a great product is a proper way to conduct business, I am delighted to have them as part of the channel. They have some of the coolest graphic t-shirts around and an absolute best fit and feel that has continually exceeded my expectations. With new shirts arriving all the time and other products like boxers, hats, and even a monthly shirt club, I wholeheartedly recommend them to you. Check out the link in my description of this video for an exclusive 10% off everything they sell. As always, a huge shout out to my patrons and YouTube members. It is through their support that videos just like this are made every single week for you guys. I am able to make these because of them. So if you appreciate the videos that I make and you can give even $1 a month, there is a link down in the description below. Thank you so much. Let's get started with a disclaimer, then we're going to jump into the top 10. So, disclaimer, if you like the company and I mention them, it's just an opinion. Feel free to disagree, make your points in the comments. I will read them and discuss with you as always, but just know that of course this is just an opinion and there are a myriad of games or companies that I could point out and say, that's bad, that's bad, that's bad. This top 10 list is because it is the most common you might come across or is severely bad. So there are some that either aren't active, there are some that are bad sometimes, but not something that I would give a general warning for, or ones that you just probably won't see. So, and just because I think that they are something that you shouldn't necessarily back wholeheartedly, doesn't mean there are instances that you should. I am backing games from some of these companies. So let's just put that out there where it may land. So this is just a list. And I will be making the opposite video too, so I'll have a top 10 best companies as well. Stay tuned for that. I'm actually compiling that list, and I'll make that as soon as I can for you guys. Okay, so with that out of the way, Hell, The Last Saga, Mythic Games, that's number 10. Mythic Games is a very common thing you're going to come across, and it's one that I think people aren't always prepared to kind of go into because there are some issues. Issues like changing things well after the campaign end. You can look at Darkest Dungeon for examples of that. And mostly production issues is another thing here. Hell, The Last Saga was put on Kickstarter far too early in its development cycle, so it was developed well after the campaign. We're going to see a few companies that do that sometimes, but regardless, the production issue is there. Now, the production itself has gotten better for Mythic Games, but it's still very long tooth, but the quality has improved from past mistakes. But either way, Mythic Games makes very big games, typically very complex games, has a complex production cycle, so it takes a very long time to produce them, and even when they sometimes have issues. So that is a deal breaker for many people. I personally love a lot of their games that they make, so I make exceptions for that so I can still enjoy the games, but that is definitely a problem Mythic Games has that they have yet to solve or yet to even show a path forward in that, and so you should be cautious backing their stuff. Doesn't mean you shouldn't, it just means you should be cautious about it, which goes for pretty much all the rest of these too. So for instance, number 9 is Flying Frog Productions. I'm showing Shadows of Brimstone Adventures, their latest one here. It's heavily delayed just like all of them. One of the things that is an issue for them and why I caution against backing, which by the way I backed this campaign specifically even, is notice that in the last 3 years they've written 27 updates. So they do not update and most of those, a lot of those, a big chunk was during the campaign. After the campaign, you can often expect an update once a quarter. Sometimes they'll do like a 2-month spurt, maybe even a 3-month spurt where you get one a month. Very rare. Typically it's once every couple of months, and it's normally mostly just saying, hey, there's more stuff you can buy now that's up for sale. Additionally, they are at an issue right now where they can't ship the product. So because the prices are too high and they've charged things and they're not prepared to do that yet. So they're still working on stuff anyway. But either way, bad communication, long and delivery and production and stuff like that, and just a lack of care for the customer once they get the initial wave of money. You'll see that in future things as well. So yeah, just overall typically a bad experience with them. Again, doesn't mean the game's bad, doesn't mean you can't pick it up retail, doesn't mean you can't back it. I did myself, but you have to know that going in. So if I'm making a top list of things to essentially caution people about Flying Frog Productions be one of them, especially because Shadows of Brimstone is actually a pretty popular game. All right, next up is Grimlord Games. This is at number 8 for not just Village Attacks Rim Dynasty, not just for the Everrain, but just in general. So one of the issues they have, again, like Hell, like Mythic Games, is putting something on the Kickstarter or GameFound or wherever they choose to launch their stuff way early in the development, where you might not even have a way to like beat the game yet by the time they're showing it to you. So they'll have pictures of stuff and all that, but it's not actually really a game yet. They still need to actually develop it fully and they do that. So heavy delays there, and just a general attitude about that as well. I actually commented on that long ago, and the owner did not take kindly to me for critiquing his early launch. And so, you know, in any company that can't get feedback very well, I think struggles to get better. And so I don't expect Village Attacks, which is already years late, to not continue to be years later and them continue to not learn their lesson. And as long as people back that, they're going to keep getting that. So yeah, the Everrain or Village Attacks and all that, there are definitely issues there. Definitely want to caution against that, just because they're always late. And we're going to see that in a few as well, where it's just you're backing a concept at a certain point. And Village Attacks is a known IP, and it's still late. And that's because they were busy developing their last one, the Everrain. So while they develop now Village Attacks, I expect they will launch another one and focus on that, and then eventually get Village Attacks, and that cycle will just repeat as long as nothing changes. So yeah, that's kind of what you have to expect if you back a Grimlord's game campaign. Next up, we have Inside the Box Games. I'm showing Subterra 2 here, but this is for a specific thing I've not even covered in a news video yet. This is kind of hot off the press, actually, as of April 14th here, but they actually put this on at least 3 different campaigns. So they kind of BS you in the updates here. For instance, they were in mass production for 7 months, according to their updates, because their mass production doesn't mean that they're all ready or something like that, but they're not going to really specify that. They're just going to be like, we're ready for mass production. And then, you know, nothing happened, and they're not putting all their effort into this. They're running several other campaigns, and it's obvious they're not working 40 hours a week on this. So this is once the campaign funds, you tend to get side project and then kind of BS updates. Additionally, they decided years later now to update every single one of their campaigns to say that they are no longer issuing refunds. So you will not be getting any refunds for any of their games now. This was at least on the 3 latest campaigns that I checked. They said no more refunds on this. You're locked in. Good luck. So if you are a backer there, good luck. If you're not a backer there, keep that in mind when you see something from Inside the Box Board Games, that this is the current status of several projects of theirs. All right, next up, we have Blacklist Games. I'm showing Lasting Tales, but I could have picked a couple others as well that are outstanding or haven't been delivered, or, you know, otherwise have delivery issues. The people that their main designers have left the company. They've talked about how they don't have money to deliver. They're trying to get money to deliver. There are backed several ones. This is where I said a lot of the times when I say active companies now, if I made a future video for this, I wouldn't actually expect Blacklist Games to be on there, because I don't expect them to be active. This happens, and you'll see this on a few as well still coming up, that you get to a point where you can't keep running, right? So you're putting all these promises out there, and you're funding with other Kickstarters, and other things happen, and then the moment a curveball comes in your business, which is bound to happen, you don't have the cushion for it, and you just collapse, and then all the pieces come down. It's like seeing a house of cards just fall on itself. You just flicked one little thing, and then suddenly it's all out from under your feet, and you're in free fall. That's kind of what's happened to Blacklist Games. Very unfortunate for many backers. I hope everybody still at least gets their stuff, but I would very, very much caution anybody to look into the history and the current status of Blacklist Games before pledging money towards anything, which is kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, but it is what it is. You guys as consumers need to protect yourselves. All right, next up we have Peterson Games. Return to Planet Apocalypse. I could have picked, again, a whole bunch of other ones. They are currently updating all of their outstanding campaigns, which there are several, with updates about something that is separate from that, because they're doing a retail deal. Because they are making games and they are sending them out to retail, and they're hoping that that money and those contracts will get them enough money to be able to actually deliver on their promises. That's pretty sketch already, in that it may not happen. We'll see. But it's another one of those things where they made a whole bunch of campaigns and spanned them out and then just ran too fast, outran their headlights, and then they eventually did crash, and we are currently in that crash state. Will they come back? Will they be able to pick up and repair the car enough to be able to, truck along a little bit at a slower pace? Will they try to go a slower pace? If they do, who knows? But that's the current status. So again, as backers, you got to be cautious about that. Definitely something to watch out for. It's bad. Okay, next up we have Ludo Studios. I didn't pick just one campaign to show you because they have multiple companies underneath this umbrella making campaigns at the same time and spamming those. And as you can see right here, there's quite a few projects in play now. They've only been around for, I believe, around 2 years actively making these things, and they already have this many. So there's two things to caution about. First of all, we just saw with Blacklist Games, we just saw with Peterson Games, we just saw with Mythic Games that making too many too quickly, you get this backlog, you're rushing through things, you're making mistakes, and eventually the pieces fall. Eventually you run out of runway. Eventually it does stop. There is a point of no return where enough is enough, too much is too much, and your plate is now overfilled. And then it's just bad for everybody. It's bad for the company. It's bad for the business. Businesses growing rapidly already have growing pains without actually having financial issues and stuff like that as well. So very, very cautious on anything that looks kind of like this. You can go to ludos.studio and see all their different symbols. And I believe now that they are an established company on Kickstarter, they don't have to fuss around with making alternate accounts. So they're trying to consolidate those into one account now that they are not, trying to skirt the rules more and stuff like that. But either way, a very, very new company spamming projects and not already having some not fund. Cthulhu Island just was canceled. It did not fund. So yeah, definitely I would suggest steering clear if I were you, unless it's something you really, really want and you feel safe putting the money into it. But yeah, it's a very slow car crash that you get to see coming a mile away. So yeah, just be on the lookout for that, especially if you see a symbol that looks kind of like a black and white thing like that. That's how all their branches or their companies or whatever they spun up were. Next up, Soda Pop Miniatures. They are actually still trucking along. They are famous for their Super Dungeon Explorer, Super Dungeon Legends, all this Super Dungeon stuff. Famously, they got a whole bunch of money, had pledged too much, had grown too quickly, didn't have good business practices, so misused money, and it was all gone. And they weren't able to pay contracts and all sorts of stuff. And again, it exasperates, right? As it kind of I don't have money, so now I can't pay for the manufacturer. So now the manufacturer is charging me a fee here or whatever. And all this stuff happens, right? It's a trickle down effect. So very, very bad. They are still trying to deliver, which is commendable, and they are selling little one-off products to be able to support those funds. That being said, I would never send anybody with go back them. Even their current stuff that they're selling, be cautious with Soda Pop Miniatures. It is a very, very risky situation there. And any company that's already proven that they can't run a business well and already have poor business practices makes me cautious, even if they're doing better financially, that's in spite of business practices, not because of them, if that makes sense. All right, moving up. We have Kingdom Death Monster. Who didn't expect this on the list? Kingdom Death Monster is something you want to have somebody back if they want to spend a premium on an item that they won't get for years. That's pretty much the process of Kingdom Death Monster. Over 5 years delayed, very poor communication. You're getting comments like, hold on, I gotta read this. If Poots makes any public appearances this year, I'll buy a ticket to the event just so I can make a scene by yelling at him for 15 straight minutes. If you are a company getting comments like that, you know you messed up somewhere, right? If that's your backer situation, if people feel that way about you as a company, you goofed up. You done goofed up somewhere, okay? It's kind of bad. There's very poor communication. There's very little sense of progress many times on any of the promised things. It tends to just be making more stuff to sell versus the stuff that they've already sold and needed to deliver on. So there's a lack of of focus there, and just in general, it's been a kind of a crapshoot. Unfortunate because, again, games can be great, but that doesn't mean the experience of backing is good. And that doesn't mean I would encourage other people to just, go back that. That sounds like a great idea. Very much would caution against Kingdom Death. Overall, kind of a crapshoot, kind of a dumpster fire there right now, just when it comes to the overall sentiment. Speaking of which, the number one, you guys probably saw this company. Come on is definitely the number one word caution against. And that's actually not always the case. I've given I love a lot of their games. I've given their games Game of the Year awards. Lately though, the production has gotten worse with each new delivery that I have gotten, to the point where I'm getting huge amounts of flash, bad seams, bad assembly, boxes that aren't glued together, very skinny boxes, cheap packaging, cheap trays. They have whole issues with their Marvel United shipping where things are getting destroyed. They're inundated with support tickets of people either trying to get refunds or trying to get replacement pieces or both. And it's just kind of really bad right now. They've been relying more on IP things, which is why we've gotten Bloodborne. It's why we've gotten Masters of the Universe. It's why we've gotten Marvel twice, right? It's why we'll be getting The Last of Us here soon. All of that is IP based for a reason, and just really bad customer experiences. They've purposely lied and manipulated their backers. They will wait until the day after refunds to tell you that Marvel United will actually be at retail within 6 months, but don't worry, you can pay extra to get it with them because we've already also made enough copies. Coincidentally enough, that kind of manipulation and outright lies and withholding information just to get more money is downright terrible, and the way they treat their customers is downright terrible. Customer support's copy paste from a no-name customer support person, so they don't invest in that. They don't invest in anything when it comes to you, just more money. They've actually even gone on record to say that if they learn about you while you're pitching them a game, you actually are worse off for it. They don't want to hear about you. They want to hear about your game. They don't care about you. They want to know how they can get money from you. That's all they care about. It's why you have all these comments and no responses. It's why they didn't even make an announcement when they doubled the prices of shipping from just a few months earlier when nobody else is doing that. In fact, some are offering it at cheaper than before because the downward trend is there. They doubled it, said nothing in an update, no communication, no care, no regard, no nothing. They do not care about anybody on that campaign, just their money. It is the epitome of a soulless corporation that cares not for its consumer base. That is, come on, and that's why they get number one, because right now we're getting delays, we're getting cheaper products, and a bad experience. Every single part of crowdfunding they fail at, and they fail at miserably and spectacularly. So, that's my list. That's my top 10. Did I miss anything? Is there more that should be on this list? Should this have been a top 15 and you got to let me know the other 5? Let me know, of course, if you disagree with me. I'd love to hear why. Maybe we can have a discussion there. And if you think that perhaps this was just a terrible idea, well, I'll be making the opposite version that's a lot happier, the top 10 best companies to back for a crowdfunded board game. Stay tuned for that. Subscribe if you actually want to see it. Like the video if you appreciated this look out for the customer and not the corporation. And with that, I'll go and let you guys go. Have a great rest of your day. Take care, guys.